Welcome to Slackin' Off with Brady Slack.
Welcome to Slackin' Off, everyone. Today's episode is actually really fun for me. This is my guest on this episode is someone that I haven't known for that long, but I feel like I've known him my whole life just based off of the interactions we've had. This guest is a former Entrepreneur of the Year, former Global Entrepreneur of the Year, a best-selling author 28 plus times over. He's produced a couple videos. In my opinion, this is the coolest thing about him. He's the founder of the world's #1 business event that you can't attend. Without further ado, welcome to the show, Mr. Greg Reed.
And then the crowds go wild. What's happening, champion?
How are you? So this episode's particularly, I'm actually really excited for this, Greg, because you and I did not meet that long ago. You and I met in November. And at that time, we met at a mutual clients event that they were hosting. And we met very briefly. It was a very quick introduction. And I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't know who you were when I met you. And then we got on the phone, 2 days later? And from there, I've been to your house. You hosted Prosperity Camp that I attended. It was a phenomenal event. Tell me a little bit about your entrepreneurship journey and you're the most connected guy I think I know. Tell me how you got into that position.
Okay. Well, first of all, you missed out that you got your tail whooped at, I think, Frisbee golf out front, too. So those are, you got to take with young man.
Oh,
So
I only
for those
talk about my wins.
Yeah, there you go. And by the way, for those of you who don't know me, don't feel bad. I'm not very popular at home either, just a regular cat here in San Diego. So I started my entrepreneurial spirit when I was a kid. It's like everybody, right? When I got in trouble as a child for doing what I get celebrated for today. All those accolades you talked about, I literally got grounded for as a kid. So when I was 14, I couldn't work, but I wanted nice stuff. So I would go around and I'd ask the neighbors if I could mow their lawn for, $10. And then I'd hire the neighbor kids for $5 to mow the lawn for me. I'd make money on the spread. And again, I was taking advantage of the children, yet I was just being an entrepreneur. And so it's so interesting. There's so many opportunities out there. The moment we have something called the RAS, Reticular Activator System, Rumi had a quote, whatever you seek is seeking you. It's already around us. Every opportunity, every connection, every resource is already within our sphere. The only difference is you got to look for it, think about it, you got to take action toward it, and then the universe will reward that momentum.
That's awesome. So you are, what I've come to find out is you are an incredible storyteller. Obviously, you've written tons of books, you've directed a couple films, or you've helped produce a couple films. What about your storytelling ability makes you unique?
Simplification, and I do everything down what I call songs. And very rarely do I talk about this on podcasts, by the way. I think you and I talked about it offline, but I do things in songs. What that means is a song is about 2 minutes long. It's got a beginning, middle, little hook, a melody, and end, and it has a little thing it ties in. Well, that's what I do. So, for example, we're on a phone right now. I'm talking to you on an iPhone. And so I
Yeah.
remember the cool interview I did with Steve Wozniak, the guy who started Apple Computers. And I asked him a question. I said, how did you and Jobs have so much success? And he says, that's easy. He goes, we embraced our lack. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, we embraced what we did not have. Other people run from it. We ran towards it. And I go, what in the world are you talking about? And he said, when we first started, these little microchips were so expensive. He goes, we could only afford one. He goes, Jobs sold his car. I sold my calculator. We pooled our money to buy one of these magical devices. He goes, Hewlett Packard was rich and IBM, they had all the money of God. So they would create these computer apparatuses that would go from point A to point B with 20 chips. They had all that money. They had unlimited resource. He goes, so I'd pull away 5 and go from A to B using just 15. I'd pull away 5, get to work with just 10. Eventually, he found a way to go from A to B using our one chip. He goes, we were not trying to be innovative or cool or aerodynamic or whatever. He goes,
You just
we
couldn't
could afford
afford
one.
it.
He goes, but by embracing that as an opportunity, we found the shortest, cleanest path. And by doing that, we changed the way people do personal computing for the rest of the world. He goes, where could you be right now in your own business? People watching this right now. If you stop looking at something as your greatest challenge and obstacle, but it could just be your greatest blessing and opportunity in disguise. All right,
Mm.
there's a song, right? A beginning, middle, end, story, boom. That's how we do it.
Garth Brooks. I don't know if you've ever seen his documentary. He talks about what's a blessing is a curse, and that dichotomy. And if you look at it like that, I always say business is 75% grit, determination, and 25% luck. You pull it out of your ass as you go, right? And that dichotomy of what is a blessing is a curse could be your greatest asset moving forward. You just have to look at it in a different light. That's good
Yeah.
advice.
Oh, again, this is how you look at it. People throw rocks. You see the memes and you build a castle and all that little stuff. One of
Yeah.
my favorite things I ever did, and I mentioned to you before, was this guy who started Chick-fil-A restaurants. His name's Truett Cathy. And I said, I want to be, a billionaire like you. What do I do different? And he says, Greg, he goes, just stop planning. I go, what? I go, that goes against everything we've ever
Everything.
learned in your industry, right? And he
Yeah.
goes, well, last year you had a lot of plans. I said, yeah. He goes, how did that work out for you? He
Mm.
goes, you might hit a goal from time to time, but I guarantee it didn't go as you expected. He
Yeah.
goes, the secret is to look for and capitalize on unexpected opportunity. He goes, if I'm on my sofa and I want to get to the end of the street, that's my goal. I'm not going to plan it. I'm going to take action and move towards that thing. Again, the universe rewards momentum. He goes, a planner is going to plan every step, or they're going to pause, take a break. If a sprinkler comes on and freaks them out and goes against plan, they run back home. Not me. He goes, I
Yeah.
look for an opportunity. Did a kid leave a skateboard or a bicycle out I can borrow to make my journey short? If I get real lucky, I'll wave down a neighbor driving by and hitch a ride to the end of the street. He goes, I'll get to my goal. I just not so caught up in exactly how it has to happen.
Or maybe when it has to happen, it'll happen in its own time.
There you
Yeah.
go. Yeah, it's interesting. During COVID, I had the probably the greatest epiphany I ever had in my life. It says, what if God in the universe granted every wish and every prayer, but we didn't like the packaging, so we sent it on its way? God, I need $100. Lord, I need $100. Your neighbor comes by and says, "Hey, buddy, I got all these aluminum cans on the side of my house. Do me a favor, take them off my property, cash them in. They're worth $100." Well, I don't
Yeah.
want those steam things. You asked, you prayed, it was delivered, but you didn't like the packaging, so you missed that opportunity. The chances the next time you ask and pray, it might not come as easy because you didn't have gratitude for the first one that was given to you. And that's where the quote comes from, like you said earlier. It's like, be careful what you ask for, because you
Yeah.
might just it just might not be the
Or
packaging you expect.
or on the back end, it's that they have the quote too. I asked for faith, so God gave me a trial. I asked for money, so God gave me a job. Sometimes I've experienced this where maybe I'll ask for it, I don't do it. I ask for it the second time, and I don't get it. It's like, hey, there's a lesson in that, right? So one thing that I want to highlight too is Secret Knock. Again, like I mentioned earlier, this is by Forbes, I think by Inc., by the New York Times. It has been coined the number one business event that you can't attend. Tell me why did you start Secret Knocks, and why do they say it's the number one business event that people can't attend?
Well, okay, so this all started for those of you again who are new to my work. I've been publishing like 100 and I don't know,
A
48
lot.
books, 40, which has got a star on the Walk of Fame. Crazy, right? And by the way, I'm dyslexic, can't spell, can't read, can't write. So just proves that anything's possible.
Yeah.
And what I would do is I go around the world and interview amazing humans and then tell their stories like I'm doing here in books and film. And people said, how can I meet your friends? So I started an event in my living room. And they said, you need a ticket? And I go, no, just when you come to the door, go bump and a bump bump as a joke, secret knock, and you can come. And people told people and told people. We've never ran an ad. We've never done any promotion. And we sell out 6 months early every single time,
Yeah.
16 years in a row. And that's what we do.
So you talk about interviewing friends. Not I don't really even I mean I know for those listening, I mean you've already name dropped a couple of them, and I don't really even care to hear who you've interviewed. What has been the most impactful lesson that you have learned while you have interviewed those people, and is are there themes with the people that you interview?
Well, yeah. So it depends upon the book I'm writing, yet
Okay.
not overall arching thing because it depends where you're going. And there's only three life lessons that I've got. Like at the end of the day, your three life lessons. I only got three of them. One,
Okay.
one is seek counsel, not opinion. Seek
Mm.
counsel, not opinion. Opinion is based on ignorance, lack of knowledge, or inexperience. Like all your family friends who've never done what you want to do, stop asking them for business advice when you're at a barbecue. Counsel is based on wisdom, knowledge, mentorship. People have paved the way. So if I want to write a best-selling book and I tell my family friends, they're going to talk me out of it to protect me because I'm dyslexic and they've never written a best-selling book. If I go to Mark Victor Hansen, wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul, he's going to say, Greg, sit down. Here's what you need to know and give you counsel based on wisdom, knowledge, mentorship. If we would spend our activity only seeking counsel in anything we're doing and ignoring opinion, that's the day our lives would change. That's number one.
That's a good one. What's number 2 and number 3?
I'm just kind of put them in order here. It's interesting because they're so profound, right? I'm going to say number 2 is surround yourself with people you have respect for, not people you have influence over. I learned this from Ruben Gonzalez, a 4-time Olympian. And he says, most people, again, surround themselves with the people that they can influence their audience, where I'm always seeking the greatest minds of our generation. When we were kids, we said, don't cut the line. You get in trouble in school. And as an adult, I say, cut the line. So if I want to become, again, a best-selling author, I'm going to go to Barnes and Noble and buy every best-selling book. And I'm going to call those people and say, will you teach me what you did? And they will. And I apply it. I will cut the learning curve. So I say, surround yourself with people that are getting the results you want. Ask them for counsel and then actually take action with that information. Your life will never be the same. And then the biggest one is CPC. It's an acronym, stands for clues, patterns, choices. C, clues, P, patterns, C, choices. It's about accountability and responsibility for everything that happens. It's your fault. Stop blaming other people. I'm a single guy. I go out on a first date. Amazing woman. She happens to be 20 minutes late. Anything could have happened, but there's a little red flag. That's the first C. It's a clue. I like her. I continue to date her. And every time I pick her up, she's 20 minutes late. That forms a P, which is a pattern. Now it's my C, choice. Whether I deal with it, I yell at her, I break up, I tell her a different time, but it's not her fault. She's just late. We have to stop trying to change people to fit into our own paradigm box. No one wants to be changed. But we'll see someone with a bad reputation in business. They cheat your best friend. We do business thinking it'll be different for me. And then when things go wrong, we're mad at the person. We saw the clue, we saw the pattern, we made the choice. It'd be like seeing a rattlesnake rattle, bite your kid's sister. You pet it, get bit, and you're mad at the snake. Looking back in life, rarely will we be angry at relationships that failed or negotiations that fell through. We're mad at ourselves because we saw the clues, we followed the patterns, but we made our choices late.
Sometimes people ask me why I have started businesses, why I am an entrepreneur. People don't always see me hanging out with lots of friends. And I very frequently say it's easier for one of my clients to become a friend than one of my friends to become a client. And those 3 life lessons that you've explained ring very true to me, just for the simple fact that sometimes entrepreneurship can be a quote unquote lonely road. Because again, you have your friend group, you have your family, but even they don't know or understand why it is that you do what you do. And to be honest with you, when we first started talking, you asked me what I was doing and what I did. And I love telling people about that because I love what I do. Like, this is taxes are fun for me, as odd as that might sound, but this is one of the most selfish things I've done, maybe apart from marrying my spouse. But these conversations are the most selfish things I do because I get to learn and I get to translate that knowledge for other people that, again, I didn't know who you were, but you're, again, like I said, you've become one of the most iconic people that I now consider a friend. And so it's really cool for me to be able to have these kinds of conversations. Tell us a little bit about Secret. What do you've got some big plans for Secret Knock and Prosperity Camp. It's a golden birthday for you this year. Tell us what some of those plans are and what some of those events look like for people that
Well,
don't know what they
we
might be
can't
looking
talk about Secret Knock because it's a
for.
secret.
Secret.
So here's the funniest thing about our event. It costs, as you know, thousands of dollars to attend, and we will not tell where it is or who will be there. Nothing.
Yeah.
So all these people coming in 4 weeks from now, I tell them the city, state, date. That's it. So they're all
Yeah.
flying in. Person has a. Do you know where it's at?
I do know where it's at because I'm going, but that's the only
Yeah.
reason why I know where it's at.
And that's it. No, it's a secret. And the reason we do that is so we can bring in amazing people. I mean, we've done a private Skype with Edward Snowden while he's hiding in Russia. Carol Baskin came in last time to tell her how, her side of the story about Joe Exotic. We've had President Vicente Fox come in, tell us how George Bush tried to trick him to go to war. Well, we got planned for this one is going to be phenomenal. The main thing coming up for this year is going to be, again, Prosperity Camp in August. And that one we can talk about. It will be my 60th birthday. And so for the last 20 years, I've been doing these books and products and speaking and all this good stuff. I'm bringing in the best of all my friends to this event. So it'll be more of a party, but you'll be hands on, face to face, knees to knees with people that most people could only dream about. And it'll be at a very social, relaxed setting where literally you can go up to the taco bar and have lunch with the guy who started Ugg Boots or the person who started Pictionary in a very one on one situation. So it's going to be pretty neat.
It's, yeah, I know where it is because I'm going to the one in March. I also know at least one speaker, but only because he's a good friend of mine. We do some work for him, but I'm very excited to go. I will have to say, so I've in the entrepreneur space, there's a lot of mentorships or masterminds. However, I do have to say, when I went to Prosperity Camp, I really didn't know what to expect. There were some awesome people at Prosperity Camp, but I have never been a part of a mastermind or a coaching group or some sort of entrepreneurship help group where everyone was so inclined to give. Who can I connect you with? What do you need? How can I help you with that? How have you fostered that mentality within your groups, and why do you feel like that is important? Obviously, I have my own thoughts, but I'm curious to hear what you have to say.
Yeah. Well, you just hit the nail. Like none of this is thought out. It's just being normal. It's being cool,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Exactly. When you come to Secret Knock, the first thing we're gonna say, first thing out of our mouth is we have one rule: be cool. That's it. So if the mics go out, we'll yell louder. If the lights go out, everyone hold up their lighters. You know what I mean? It's like everyone just be normal. If water runs out on your table, don't complain. Get off your ass, go get some water and bring it back to the table. Be normal. And that's the environment that we created from the very beginning. And that's why we set expectations so low. Again, we won't tell you where it is, who's going to be nothing. So how can you be upset? You know what I mean? You have no idea. And so
yeah.
the whole idea is to surround ourselves then with the greatest people you can imagine. It's kind of like I always looked at it. I said, if you promise to bring a circus to town and said that there's going to be 12 zebras, well, you better throw in some clowns and some guy shot out of a camera. I mean, out of a cannon. You better bring in some type of crazy elephants and some magic tricks because you always want to over deliver. And that's what we do at our events. We make sure whatever we let people know, we quadruple that so people walk away and become our greatest spokespeople.
We talked a little bit about that at Prosperity Camp. And Kelly Cardenas, he talked a little bit about this too. Finding what was the word he used? Not an advocate, but an evangelist. An evangelist is the word that he used for your product or business. You have your evangelists. I know you do because I've met those evangelists. What role do those people play in your life? Not just from a business standpoint, but maybe from like a relationship or an emotional standpoint.
Well, everything you said earlier, it's your friends become your circle, right? And your clients become your advocates, and but you have to deliver. See, that's what's missing in today's world. There's so many of these scam people out there, and one of the things I don't like about social media is they teach you to fake it till you make it, and I'm not a big fan of that one. So there's courses that say, hey, go sell a $5,000 course, and then once you get all this money, use that to go make this course that you don't even have. God, that just sounds so scammy to me. And so, to me, and so I believe in you have a good product, a good deliverable, and know what you're talking about, and come from a place of counsel. And that way, when you deliver it, it comes across of authoritative, and then more importantly, people go on be inclined to tell other people. So I just think it's so important to make sure that we're doing the right things in the right order, and then surround ourselves with people that have gone through that program that can go become a spokesperson and share it on. I call them sneezers. I know it sounds weird, but imagine, if I sit there and one on one, it's one thing, but when you sneeze and have that sneeze factor, it's pretty awesome. So when people leave our events, they go back home and you're not going to believe who I just met. I talked to astronauts and physicists and all these different people from the United Nations, the Oscar winners, and they go become our sneezers, and that's why it just self perpetuates itself, and we don't have to promote.
So, okay, you mentioned an aspect of a lot of people's lives that I think they find themselves in. I know I certainly found myself in. I think I'm far past that at this point. What would your advice be to the people who find themselves in that fake it till you make it phase, or are just starting out, so that they can get over that hump or hurdle? Like I personally believe there's a little bit of that fake it till you make it aspect where you've got to grind, you've got to learn it, and you've got to profess that you do. An expert is someone who spent $10,000, 10,000 hours in their field, and so it takes time. But what is your advice to the people who are in that beginner phase, starting out? What do you say to those people?
Well, I think I just said it all. One is that you seek counsel, not
Okay.
opinion. And
Yeah.
I believe in the student's mindset. So I don't agree with what you just said. That's not my mentality. That's not how I've ever come across. So I've never pretended to be someone that I'm not. I just don't do that. And so what happens is that I have no problem being authentic. Authentic means you don't have to try to be authentic, or you just are being you, right? Look, I'm the same person right now.
Humble would probably be the word. Be
Yeah,
humble.
be normal and be
Yeah.
cool, right? And so,
Yeah.
for example, I'm working on a new movie. Like right now, okay, I'll give you an example. I'm doing a brand new TV reality show where I'm attempting to. I'm not going to people saying I'm a TV producer and how great I am. I'm going, dude, I'm trying to do a TV show. I
What
have
do I
no idea
do?
what. Exactly. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm a student, but I'm learning as I go. Join my circle, and then you can learn it with me as we do it. As a student's mindset, I might just be one step ahead of you, but I can tell you we're not, the step in next. And when you have that type of attitude, people tend to want to participate and be part of a journey. People do more for a cause than they'll do for money. So I don't believe in that guru BS status. I believe in just being your authentic self and the student's mindset, and amazing things come your way.
At Prosperity Camp, there was an individual who I think was kind of in that beginner stage, and this individual was trying to profess what they are trying to accomplish in their business, and I could see the internal turmoil, and I think you know who I'm talking about, but they couldn't explain what they were wanting to do because they were so up in the air, and sometimes that simplistic, humble, cool nature that you're talking about gets you so much farther than trying to be more than. And I think that's what a lot of people are missing,
Yeah.
to kind
Well,
of
but
emphasize.
and it's not. Let's be straight. It's all the BS crap out there of personal development. Even though I'm in personal development, it is a scammy industry out there, right?
Yeah.
So many people go up and tell people, again, fake it till you make it, be this thing, all this different stuff. Take a picture in front of a Lamborghini, pretend it's yours, do all this different stuff, third party validations. It's just, ugh. And so if you can just show up and do what you're an expert at, and then become a purveyor of that, amazing things start coming our direction. So, for example, what's common sense to you and I is genius to somebody else. And
Yeah.
I'll give you the easiest example. My son, he's 10 years old. He plays Fortnite like a champion, right? So he knows all the little tricks. Well, is there a kid that would pay $20 to just sit in a chair next to him and watch him play these games so they can learn those tricks? Absolutely. So it's
Yeah.
common sense to him is genius to somebody else. And the biggest secret of this industry, of world, of life is this. I'll give it to you guys right now. I hope everyone's paying attention because I'm going to give you the actual secret. Find a way to get paid money to do what you're already going to do. Listen, this cat right here, he's already going to be doing accounting. He's already going to be doing tax. He's already going to be doing all these
Yeah.
different things because that's who he is. That's what he does. He's going to do it no matter what. How do you get paid money to do what you're already going to do? Look, I'm writing a book right now. And I've invited you to join us to go along that journey. And we all chip in money to go on this quest to tell our stories and leave our legacy. Well, I'm finding a way to get paid money to do what I'm already going to do.
Yeah.
And what's common sense to you is genius to somebody else. Years ago, I like to do adventures. I like to jump out of airplanes, run with bulls, climb mountains. So I started an adventure club, and people paid 35 grand a person to join me to jump out of airplanes, run with bulls, and climb mountains. How do you find a way to get paid money to do what you're already going to
Gonna
do?
do. That's a good one. I mean, geez, between your between your three life values and that one, that's good. I want to go back just two steps. In at least in my space, there are lots of people who everyone pays taxes under the same laws. No one can do more than another. It would just come to a lack of understanding and maybe the breadth of knowledge that someone has. Why why do you think so many people, and I can relate this to my industry, I just think accountants are bad at sales. Accountants are awful communicators, and so they have to profess like they know more than someone else. But why do people, in your opinion, why do they miss the mark of just being simple? Why do people have to overcomplicate things, at least based on your experience?
Because everyone's trying to be the duplication. Like again, back to Instagram, back to all this fake stuff, back to the fake part of personal development is they put on this facade and everyone's trying to keep up with the Joneses. They're trying to one upmanship rather than just be cool, just to be themselves. So it's very, very important to make sure that we're doing our side of the fence. If you ever come over, no matter what, I've got challenges in business and life and stuff like that, but I keep
Sure.
my side of the plane. That's it. That's it. No matter what someone's doing to me, no matter what rocks are throwing to me, I'm
Yeah.
keeping my side of the plane. And by having that type of mental attitude, I get to sleep very good at night. And I think that's one of the biggest things that people miss. What can we do to keep our side of the fence clean? And as long as we do that, we have a student's mindset. We're humble, we're open, we're honest, and we're cool. Amazing things can come.
And I can testify to that. I think again, like I said, starting out, I'm still very young. There are still people in the accounting industry who I will admit have far more knowledge than I have. They have far more experience because they've been doing it for 10, 20, even 30 years longer than I have. But like you said, there are individuals who I have taken counsel from, who I consider them friends and mentors as well. Um, and that for me coming from a place of, hey, I don't understand this, can you explain it to me, has gotten me farther along than someone who comes in and is a little bullheaded and says, oh, I know that, and then they might have to get their ego torn down when they get explained something that's not true, right? That's
And here's why I liked you though. You asked those questions, kind of like why do you think we're getting along good? And here's
yeah,
my truth to this one: is I think those people with the 20, 30 years experience, I would never go to those people. I just wouldn't, because they're so stuck in their way and they do exactly the same way, no matter what's new and thing. They do the minimum level just to
yeah.
kind of keep the wheels churning. Where new up and coming people, you're looking for the newer information. You're speaking it in a way that the modern generation can understand. And I think that's one of the things that's missing. Like when you're at Prosperity Camp and we're talking about, some of the write-offs and how we use our cars and how we use our different properties and things of this nature. Again, what's common sense to you is genius to somebody else. How many people are going, oh, I did not know that. I did not know that. Because we spoke it in such a simple, easy way that the average person could understand. And by the way, I got to wrap up here pretty quick because I got 1,000 meetings. Is there one last thing we want to talk about?
You're a busy guy. Tell me, for you, what is one thing that you are working on that you would like to tell other people about? I know one project. I'm a part of that project, but is there anything in particular that you're extremely excited about here in the next little bit that you want other people to know and watch out for?
Yeah, we'll talk about that one. And we'll end on this one, the lunar legacy. We
Yeah.
are doing the project I've ever heard of in my career. I've done so many books, but I've never done anything this great. So basically, what it is that it's a book that we're writing. It's a parable. It's a story about a space engineer who realizes that only 12 people have ever walked on the moon, and the only DNA left behind up there of civilization and knowledge and wisdom is what people left behind. And so what happens is this person goes around and interviews people like you and I to say, hey, if you could leave one lasting legacy piece for 1,000 years from now, what would it be? And it could be as something simple like if you have to wonder if it's right or wrong, chances are it's wrong. And then later on in the story, this engineer is going to be faced with a challenge and go, wait, what did that guy say? And then go back to that information. Well, this book gets written and amazing things. We make it a bestseller here on planet Earth, obviously. But what's really neat is they do a swab of our inner cheek to get our DNA, and then our story, the DNA, as well as a copy of this book, is going to be put on the Falcon 9 launch next year and landed on the moon to stay there forever, for eternity. So imagine in 1,000 years from now, 1,000,000 years from now, civilization comes and go, what was on that spinny rock? Well, here's a little time of exactly
I
what
was.
was. What's that?
I was on that.
You're in it. Well, you're in it. And that's what's so cool. So that's
Yeah,
what we're doing. It's called Lunar Legacy. And if you're watching this right now, go, hey, I want to be part of that. Reach out. We'll get you
yeah.
involved. got a great story and it makes sense, we can make it happen. I got to fly, but it was a great
Awesome.
seeing you. Thanks for
Yeah,
having me on.
for all of our listeners, Greg, thank you so much. Again, this has been a selfish interview for me because I appreciate your time. For all of you listeners, thanks for joining us on Slackin' Off. And again, like you'll see, the people here, we do everything but slack off. Again, thanks, Greg, for your time, and thanks for listening.
Thanks for tuning in to Slackin' Off with Brady Slack.